Hello guys, welcome back to NHL Rumor Roundup. My name's Nathan and this is the show where I discuss the biggest and latest NHL trade rumors that you guys need to hear about. Now with the NHL trade deadline just 1 month away, today I'm going to be detailing the latest rumors and the biggest rumors surrounding the Rangers, the Avs, the Devils, the Ducks, the Sens, the Leafs, and the Montreal Canadiens. So, what are the latest rumors around the trade market right now, and what trades could we see leading up to the NHL trade deadline? Watch till the end for all the rumors and my opinions, and of course, subscribe if you're new. Now, first up on the docket for the NHL Rumor Roundup here today, we're first going to talk about Henrik Lundqvist and him being potentially linked to the Colorado Avalanche. Now, when I first heard this rumor, I was like, wait, what? And I still certainly feel that way, but it was reported by Mike Chambers of the Denver Post that the Colorado Avalanche will be interested in a guy like Henrik Lundqvist. With the $8.5 million cap hit, it won't be a problem with Colorado having the cap space, and he says in his article that with Grubauer and Franco struggling, that Colorado might want to add a new starter, that being Henrik Lundqvist at this trade deadline. Now, I still think that it's a wait, what? Kind of rumor. I really don't see it happening, but for a team like Colorado, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually look into it. I don't know if they'll trade for Henrik Lundqvist, but I feel like there could be some interest there. But again, for a team like Colorado, I feel like there's a lot of depth issues there that I still think they could end up solving that might be more important at this deadline for them. Now, Chambers in this article also suggests that with Georgiev and Igor Shesterkin, that Henrik Lundqvist might be the odd one out in that case. And as a guy who likes the Rangers and loves my boy Keith Henrik, that would be a very interesting way to solve that situation. After all the Georgiev rumors that even I've talked about on this channel, to just go ahead and trade Henrik Lundqvist with a year left would be a pretty bold move by the New York Rangers. But again, in that case, I just don't see it happening. I can't really see another team with Henrik Lundqvist. It just does not compute in my mind. So I think if it were to happen, I think Colorado might be one of the most likely teams, but I don't see a Lundqvist trade happening. Just saying. But moving on to our next rumor here today, and sticking with the Rangers goalie situation, we're now going to go to the Toronto Maple Leafs and of course their linkage to Alexander Georgiev. Now, pretty much since the start of time, the Leafs have been linked to Georgiev, and a trade, who knows, maybe it could end up happening. But Elliot Friedman in the latest 31 Thoughts kind of debunked, but also suggested that it could still happen at this point. Now, he says that Jeremy Bracco is not going to be the one guy to get them Alexander Georgiev, which pretty much everybody knew, even the people that were suggesting that. For Toronto, though, they'll really have to pay up now. For New York, after that big win with Georgiev against the Islanders, that's a team that won't give up Georgiev easily whatsoever, and I don't think ever would have. But for a team like Toronto, it's going to be a lot of different pieces. If they're going to trade Bracco, it would probably be on top of a pick, on top of another prospect, going back to the New York Rangers. And in that situation, I still think it would be totally worth it for Toronto to go out and get a guy like that. Because with Freddie Andersen, who has like a year left on his deal after this season, that's a situation that Toronto might want to remedy. And I don't think they'll want to have Michael Hutchinson as their starter once Freddie Andersen likely leaves in free agency. A guy like Georgiev, though, could be a cheap option, a guy that they could definitely use, and could be the starter after a guy like Freddie Andersen, which I think would be a perfect case scenario for Toronto. But again, it will cost them a pretty big dollar. For the New York Rangers are not just going to give up these guys easily, whether it be Henrik Lundqvist or Georgiev. And in Georgiev's case, being a super young goalie who's already proven a lot so far, that's a guy that Toronto will not just get for Jeremy Bracco. It's just not going to happen. But for Toronto, obviously they're not going to be the only team on Georgiev. It's been reported that San Jose is trying to go after him, as they should, and a lot of other teams that need that goaltending fix could definitely use a guy like that. He comes cheap, he'll be an RFA after this year, and he's a guy that will be a starter for a long time. As you can tell by the bubble sign here today, Georgiev, don't go. I love me some Georgiev. I wish he'd be able to stay with the Rangers, but I really don't see a chance where that ends up happening. To me, New York might even wait till the offseason to trade him, but I think a trade is almost inevitable. If it's to Toronto, San Jose, whatever it might be, he's going to become a pretty rich asset, and he's not going to go cheap. But now moving on from the New York Rangers goalie situation to the Montreal Canadiens situation. And it was reported about a week ago that Carey Price, especially, and also Shea Weber could be in play for the trade market for Montreal. But it was recently reported by Pierre LeBrun that's pretty much non-existent. Marc Bergevin will not trade those two whatsoever. Now, Marc Bergevin has lied in the past. At one time, he said he would never trade Alex Galchenyuk, and he's a big part of the future of the team. And we all saw how that ended up. But for those two guys, I just do not see a trade there. Yes, for Montreal, I think there will be other options they end up going with. It was also reported, again, by Elliot Friedman in his 31 Thoughts, that Jeff Petrie and Ilya Kovalchuk might be the two guys that Montreal ends up going with. But a Price and Weber trade, I don't think will be officially disclosed. Yes, Marc Bergevin won't trade him right now, but that doesn't mean he won't trade him in the future. Right now, with Montreal, they're kind of in that situation of desperation, and for Marc Bergevin, his job 100% is in desperation mode. Now, even if Montreal wanted to trade a guy like Carey Price, I don't see there being much of a market out there for him. He's making $10 million for a bunch more years after age 30, and he's played below average at best in the past couple of years. I don't think a lot of teams are lining up to get him right now compared to if they made him available a few years back. For Montreal, I think Shea Weber will be a more interesting case, but even with him, he has a gigantic contract, and while he's played pretty great so far for Montreal this year, I don't know if he'll be easy to get off the books either. To me, Montreal should just keep with those guys because, especially in Carey Price's case, his value is at an all-time low, even negative with the contract he has at this point. But now heading on to our next rumor involving the Ottawa Senators and a lot of teams that could be interested on critical piece Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Now, Pageau is one of the more interesting and probably underrated pieces in this NHL trade deadline. It is getting a lot of interest at this point. It was reported by Pierre LeBrun that there are 3 teams right now that are heavily pursuing Pageau at this trade deadline. That being the Edmonton Oilers, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Boston Bruins. Now, these 3 teams don't surprise me too much except for Philadelphia, which I don't know if they need another center at this point, but for a team like that, for these 3 teams, they're all in the race at this point, even Edmonton right now. All 3 of those guys could use a contending player like Pageau on a career year who's been fantastic. I'm not sure Pageau will stay with any of those teams if he were to go there, looking like a rental at this point, but a pretty good one too. Now, even though Pierre LeBrun states 3 teams here, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if Ottawa has a lot of teams maybe in the sideline waiting to see what the asking price is here, because that is pretty important. For a guy like Pageau, though, I think Ottawa could get upwards of a first-round pick, maybe even another prospect on top of that. Being a center, being in his prime, and having a career year, that's a center that a lot of teams, contending ones, can use right now and would love to acquire. I would say he's going under the radar, but at this point, I think there will be a lot of team interest, and surrounding the trade deadline could be one of the most valuable players around that. Now, for the next team in today's rumor roundup to talk about, we have the New Jersey Devils, and there's been a lot of rumors surrounding them, especially since Ray Shero was fired, and we got a lot of new tidbits on them with Elliot Friedman's new 31 Thoughts. Now, he says initially that Sami Vatanen will be the main guy pushed by New Jersey at this trade deadline, but also Blake Coleman and potentially Kyle Palmieri could both be in play as well. Now, Sami Vatanen was the obvious, but Blake Coleman and Palmieri really surprised me when I saw that, because I thought initially those 2 guys were going to be guys going into the future for them and will be big parts of that team going forward. But Elliot Friedman apparently thinks different. He said in his second thought in that article, quote, "The biggest question is what the Devils will do with their veterans who have term. They could do very well in trades with Blake Coleman and or Kyle Palmieri. I always assume Lou Lamoriello wants Travis Zajac." And I certainly don't think that Coleman and Palmieri will be the guys traded out of the trade deadline again. I think a guy like Vatanen is way more likely at this point, but for a team like New Jersey, it's going to be fascinating to see what they end up doing. Not just at this trade deadline, but in this offseason. Again, with Ray Shero not on that team anymore, with a new coaching staff and everything, that's a team that will have some massive shakeups and already has, but for the roster at this point with so much disappointment and so much failure, that's a team that will make a lot of different moves in the next year. Sami Vatanen, at least, I think will be gone, and others might be gone too. Now, for our last rumor here today, it's now going to be on the Anaheim Ducks and their fascinating position heading into the trade deadline. Now, Elliot Friedman in his 31 Thoughts said this: Anaheim GM Bob Murray is willing to use his cap space to ease other clubs' salary issues. With so many contenders tight to the ceiling, it's a smart play. Now, this explains a lot because with Anaheim, it's pretty much been reported that yes, they're going to sell off assets, but not just that, they're going to take some contracts that are not good whatsoever. You could see a Louis Eriksson to Anaheim trade, just thrown that out there. With Anaheim, they're going to use their cap space very smartly in this position, and again, do the best they can to become a great team in the future. With the prospect pool they already have, which is a pretty good one, they'll have much more assets to go with after this draft too. But Anaheim is a team that I think will also be active at this trade deadline, with guys like Adam Henrique, who I think could have a lot of value, guys like Josh Manson as well. Expect Anaheim to make some big moves and for contenders to want a lot of the good players on that team. But that'll be it for today's NHL Rumor Roundup. Of course, with today's episode, I need to hear y'all's thoughts down in those comments down below. Let me know what you think about the rumors discussed in this video surrounding the Rangers, the Avs, the Habs, the Leafs, whatever it might be. Let me know your thoughts down in those comments down below. But if y'all want some more grab videos just like this one, y'all should click on this playlist right here to watch all of my NHL trade rumor videos right in one place. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys didn't enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Comment down below your thoughts on, of course, the trade rumors discussed today and which players you think will get traded in the trade deadline. Share this video with your friends. Get the latest rumors out there, boys, because today the rumors were spicy. My name's Nathan, and I'll see you all next video or stream. Goodbye.